adding JJ Watt. Just what's your first impression of adding JJ and a healthy Chandler Jones to the front seven for the Arizona Cardinals?
I definitely think, especially in the NFC West, shoring up the pressure potential is a huge impact play. So it may be that the JJ Watt deal, as terms of dollars and cents, was a little rich, but if you have a plan and you execute it early, you've seen them back it up with, like, just now signing Robert Alford, one of the corners, and for a very minimum price. So you really get a chance to create a cohesive strategy. So again, in this offseason where there's a lot of defensive ends and pass rushers available out there, but to varying degrees of, well, who do you like and what do you expect them to do? So if you're looking to see which one do you want, maybe you do have to actually pay for the JJ Watt and then create the system around him. So I think it's really smart, especially this is a really tough division. And, unless Russell Wilson leaves, we got, the quarterback potential went up, so.
With Vance Joseph, how does he best utilize JJ and his versatility?
Well, the interesting part about Vance, and I love the back end of this defense. I'm like an unapologetic Budda Baker lover. I love what he brings. I love his versatility. I love the Isaiah Simmons pick last year and his versatility. And you saw him really starting to understand, like in last year's offseason with everything being virtual, a guy like Simmons will take a little bit longer because he's not just one position. He plays like all of the positions. So it's really reinforcing the back and the front and taking everything that works well from one and making them complement each other. Shore up the front and the back becomes easier to solve. Shore up the back, then the front becomes easier to solve. So you're trying to kind of create that situation where you're really defending the parts of the field that you have to. And with a guy like Kyler Murray at quarterback, who could be a constant threat to score quickly, you got to have a defense that can stop the pass. So it's really smart to be able to focus there.
The 2021 salary cap came out last week, about $16 million less than last year. How does that affect how the Cardinals moving forward after already adding a big sign in it and kind of piecing that all together, like you said earlier, with the rest of the moves that they have to make?
First, I don't think they made we all kind of knew the cap was going down. We just didn't know how much, right? So I think that it's not like they signed JJ Watt and they're like, oh no, now we have to figure it out, right? You have a huge advantage. I think the Cardinals are in a really good, they're within striking distance. You've got a rookie quarterback, that's a rookie deal for a quarterback, right? So you're not paying the premium for that position. You got your wide receiver solved, the wide out one solved. There's a bunch of wide receivers that are in this, in the market right now that you could probably find the right piece to complement DeAndre Hopkins without having to overpay. This is the type of offense where a running back, and I'm an analytics person, so I think running back's an important position, but this is not something, if you are a pass happy offense, you got to figure out the right people for your O-line and then really focus on, this is a team that plays 10 personnel more than any other team in the National Football League by like double. The next closest was the Bills, and they were like 8% lower. It's like 14% for the Cardinals and 6% for the Bills. And the interesting part about that is you don't need an O-line that's quite as stout as, like, say, a pocket passer would need because of Kyler Murray's mobility. And then your running back doesn't need to be like the premium running back. You don't need to go get Aaron Jones at all. You need to have the combination of a good enough O-line. So you have to get better at O-line, and then a running back that can execute, or multiple running backs that can execute the different strategies to make the pass work. So they're in kind of good shape. They're within striking distance. They've got, all of the pieces there. It's going to be some keen free agent moves. And then of course we got to get a little lucky. This 16 is a tough spot to be drafted. Who knows what's going to happen in the draft, right? Mm-hmm. So figuring out kind of the pieces so that whoever you get in the draft is all upside. And then you really have something interesting, especially considering maybe Russell Wilson does leave the division. That would help a little bit, right? And then we don't know who's going to be necessarily the quarterback for the Niners. That could be good too, right? So there's a lot of potential upside. And then of course, stay healthy.
Cynthia, thanks so much for the time and the insight.
You're welcome.